Was that incorporated? Was it a partnership? How did you handle that piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, so I did not incorporate immediately. I decided that I would operate as a sole proprietorship, doing business as the law office of Thomas A. Vick. And so you go to the bank, you establish an account. You don't have to do anything too complicated. You just have to declare yourself, okay, I'm, the law office of Thomas A. Vick at this point in time. And we practice in the state of Indiana, and there are regulations about, registering a law practice if you're going to operate as a corporation. My current practice is registered as a professional corporation. And, in making that decision, I believe I had a conversation with somebody from the Board of Law Examiners, and they kind of indicated that it would maybe be simpler for me to not worry about the incorporation status and just go forward with the sole proprietorship and operate that way. I think I was prepared to do the corporation, but I was guided in a different direction, um, and that made things a lot simpler. So you just open up a bank account, and uh, I think you need to have some kind of accounting software. Uh, get QuickBooks was a great option for me, and get the banking established. And then we've talked about Clio a lot of times on here. In that child support case that I got, I wanted to have some kind of retainer, so I was able to put that into my client trust account immediately, and have that security for the work that I was going to do for that client. So, opening up that operating account, but also opening up the trust account, those were the two steps that needed to take place. And I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about that IOLTA account.
Yeah, so when you open up that bank account, that becomes your operating account. And if you're going to take client funds, depending on how you set up your arrangement with that client, and you will need a fee agreement, you may also need a trust account or an IOLTA account. And it's really important, I think, to work with a bank that has familiarity with those accounts and can help guide you through that process. They will have authorization from the Indiana Bar Foundation in terms of working with and being authorized by the foundation. Because essentially, what happens on those accounts is they may earn interest, such as it is on the amount you're holding in trust for your clients. And there's some rules associated with how much money you can hold for a client in an IOLTA account versus potentially opening up a segmented account for that client. And so you have to be aware of how that works. And I know there's some resources available on the Indiana State Bar Association's Law Practice Management Committee page. And then the Bar Foundation itself has quite a bit of resource on IOLTA accounts. And so read through some of those materials and determine which may apply to you in your scenario. Obviously, this is limited to Indiana, but other states have similar programs, and determine how best to do that. But I think your point about having some type of accounting software is absolutely critical for that, because you have to track those trust accounts very, very closely. And Clio has some really good resources on how to maintain adequate trust account records and industry standard for how you track and balance those and reconcile those accounts on a monthly basis. Make sure, obviously, when you're holding funds for someone else in trust, that is a very important duty. And you want to make sure that those funds are handled appropriately and in compliance with your obligations as an attorney.
And for me, it's always been as simple as I need to know to the very penny how much is in that IOLTA account at all times. There can never be a single day where I don't know what is in that IOLTA account. So you've got to, for me, I didn't always, go through all the bookkeeping for QuickBooks for my operating account, but I always made sure that IOLTA account bookkeeping was up to date. So I knew exactly how much was in there, make sure that QuickBooks is lining up with the amount that you have in Clio. And if you've written a check and it hasn't cleared yet, you understand why there's some kind of mismatch there. Really, really important to keep track of that.